Welcome to Rico 12. My name is Justin, and I am a child of an all-powerful and all-loving God and a recovering addict, and am blessed to be the host of this meeting and podcast. Rico 12 is an organization with the mission of learning and sharing the similarities of addictions of all kinds, and gaining and sharing tools and hope from others who are walking this path. We come together from all places, faiths, and backgrounds to gain tools and hope from others who are walking this similar path. Speakers from our past meetings have represented so many fellowships, addictions, and afflictions, and we look forward to continuing to add to the diversity of speakers and background. So if you're out there and you're like, hey, I'd like to speak at a future time on Rico 12, go ahead and shoot me an email at rico12pod@gmail.com. Now, today's speaker for the 193rd meeting is Richelle J., whose topic is entitled Love Addiction, and I really look forward to getting to her talk and the Q&A afterwards in just a minute. First, for a little bit of business. The Rico 12 family of recovery resources continues to grow and have more resources for the addict and the loved ones of those addicted. I invite you to go to and listen to and subscribe to all the other Rico 12 podcasts that you can find information, and you can find information on that in the chat of the live meeting as well as in the show notes. You can go to rico12.com and find all of these different resources that are really powerful. On that note, Rico 12 is a self-supporting service, and we appreciate your help in keeping us working our 12th step in this manner. Thank you to all who have donated and continue to donate. These donations really help in our mission to share this message with others. And if you would like to become a spearhead and support Rico 12 in our mission, please consider going to www.rico12.com. That's RECO12.com/support. And making either a one-time donation or becoming a monthly spearhead donor. We look forward each meeting to receiving from the light reflected from our speakers. That light inspires hope, meaning, worth, and growth in us, the listening audience. Now I'm going to introduce our guest speaker for today, Richelle J., and this is in her own words as I read this. My name is Richelle from New Jersey. I found 12-step rooms in the year 1999 and got clean on January 18th of 2000. I was acting out in Love Addiction and did not even know it. I found Nikki M in the Spiritual Gangsters Big Book sponsorship group in October of 2020, and I'm excited to hear this story and how things go. Take it away, Richelle. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Justin. I'm Richelle. I'm a love addict. I chose this topic because it doesn't get talked about enough. I don't think the world knows about it enough. I really don't. And I live in, like you said, Atlantic City, New Jersey. It's a very small Atlantic County. We have nothing here culturally. There's casinos. That's all. There's casinos. That's the big deal. And they went to shit before COVID, really. So I was never offered SLA meetings in this like basic hillbilly place. I was never offered SLA, Al-Anon, Coda, none of this. And I was suffering for years. And like you shared about, I got in the rooms in 1999 and went to another fellowship. But before that, as a child, I remember, and I share this always because I was constantly obsessed since kindergarten with a boy, always. And I always say the names because they're long. They're in a whole nother states away. Donald, Michael, and Ronnie, and Joey, and Tim, and Colin, and John, and Mike. And it went every year. It was an obsession, Joey. And it was like, that was what I lived and breathed and slept and looked for and wrote about and sung about and music's about. And back then, maybe because I was born in 68, I'm like a child of the 70s, and they would call you boy crazy. She's boy crazy. And me and my best friend would make daydreams and fantasies. We played Barbie dolls. And I guess you could really call the drug of choice fantasy. And we played Barbies up until 8th grade just to have a whole fantasy life, to escape reality, and to escape the reality of my home and the violence in my home. And, the chaos and the violence in my home, I guess that was my coping mechanism. And it was painful and humiliating. I did every single guy that I was with ended up leaving me. And I mean, I just was obsessed, and I can't stress it enough. Like on the playground, staring at the guy and writing his name like 500 times in my notebook, and everything, staying up at night. And I made this joke in the meeting, staying up to hear waiting for the song, I'm All Out of Love by Air Supply. Like, this was my life. I'm talking there was no identity to me. You know, I did have some friends. I did play some sports. All I wanted was love stories and love movies and love books. And just my first favorite movie was Romeo and Juliet, the 1968 version, where I could just sit there crying through the movie. All sad, tragic. I used to say tragic love stories are my favorite, you know, where they die, he dies, she dies, they die. And I guess it was an avenue to escape and also to feel my pain, the pain that was so heavy inside of me. So like fast forward to, the first love and the first sex in high school, and then a trail of bad relationships. The chemical dependency got worse. It was alcohol and coke for me. And the casino life, it was a cocktail waitress, Tropicana Hotel Casino. And so you can imagine this glamorous little in the 90s. I was there all from 89 to early 2000s in the Atlantic City Casino cocktail waitress. So there was, you know, drugs and alcohol and going out and bars and all night bars. And so thinking that the chemical was my problem, I go to, and I was always binge. I'm like the binger. I'm the binge eater, the binge smoker, the binge love addict, the binge everything drinker. I'm the binger. And then clean up for a few days. I think that's worse, because then you clean yourself up, and then and it talks about it in the big book when it talks about like a spree, right? It talks about the mental twist and the obsession to the next spree. So fast forward to finally, you know, this guy followed me around. Many love addict relationships where they felt completely smothered by me. I had anxious attachment style. I was jealous, possessive, needy, clingy, love addict. And you never could do enough for me. You could never fill my hole. You could never fill me up. And I mean, you know, that void in here. And if you didn't want to have sex in that relationship, I was monogamous, obviously, in these relationships. Like, if you didn't want to have sex with me in that relationship, I acted so bizarre in hindsight. Thank God for recovery. You know, talks about the bedevilments, and if you're in spiritual gangsters, talk about column 4 showing up in all those defects of character, and jealous and envious and possessive and insecure and selfish and self-centered, couldn't see anybody else's needs but my own. I'm lucky enough I get sober in 99. Well, I go to my first meeting in 99 in Atlantic City, and I didn't stay sober right away. But in January 2000, I heard this lady tell her story in another fellowship that did not use the big book. And she tells, I surrender then. I surrender. So I went in the rooms March 99, could not surrender, would go binge drinking once a week or once, whenever. It was really hard for me to surrender. Finally heard my story from this girl and surrendered January 2000. But I'm clean. Guess what I do? I get married in the first 6 months of my freaking sobriety, obsessed like Bridezilla. Everything's about me. I'm Bridezilla. And oh my God. Then we're on the honeymoon, and I'm telling him, we got to get pregnant. We got to get pregnant. We got to get pregnant. And he's like, you know, this does not turn me on. And I'm trying to be funny, but it's funny how, like, I was just so needy and so much for people and so controlling and holding on so tightly. And when you did that prayer in the beginning for the person still suffering, I got choked up thinking of the girl right now who's in fetal position in her bed, feeling like nobody loves her, right? Wanting to die, because that's where this disease took me. And I just couldn't keep my hands out of stuff. I was always meddling what do they call that? Like tinkering. Like my husband could never do enough. He could never be enough. He could never do it right. It was never enough. Nothing was ever enough for me. And I did stay involved in that fellowship and I did sponsor girls. But like someone else shares, they took years to do steps. So you're not recovering because that other fellowship took years and years. It took me 7 years to get through 12 steps. And it would be revealed to me the type of addict that I am, type 3, type 4, like need a daily, like you can't just sit on steps and not help people and not, it just doesn't work for us. So, because the cravings come back, and I smoked cigarettes the whole time. I was up and down with my weight, overeating, dieting, and yo-yoing, and my weight. And I ruined the marriage, needless to say. I cheated on him. He doesn't love me right. And he don't love me right. You don't want to have sex with me and all this weird shit. And this was a good stand-up dude. Like he like Marine. He was like a Marine. He would like anything you asked him to do, he would do. Like, can you fold the laundry? He'd be folding. Can you fix my brakes? They'd be fixed. Like that. Richelle has to tell me he's not loving her the right way. So I cheat on him. He finds out. And I cheat on him with like a 25-year-old guy, right? And I'm 40 now. And he finds and I always say it's like that orange envy phone. I left it out. He read the message and he forgave me. That man forgave me, stayed with me, but no, I wasn't even good enough for Richelle. No, she had to mess it up more and more obsessions with guys in meetings, obsessions with guys, younger guys, older guys, any guy, obsessions with people at work, fantasies. And this love addiction was kicking my ass. And I did go back to college. I did get to be a drug and alcohol counselor. God, was so good to me. And, I had some great accomplishments, but that bedevilments were sitting right underneath the surface. And the shame of being a love addict, to being obsessed with people, the shame of sex and love addiction, the shame of cheating, the shame of feeling like you're a fake to the world, that you're a fake. You're a fake. You've got a secret and you're hiding it. And I was never truly happy. So this poor man, I ruined that marriage. And we were married 17 years. We were together 20. And now I meet an old flame from middle school, one of those obsessions in 5th grade, finds me on Facebook. And Michael finds me. And now I'm going to end the marriage. You're gone. You're out. Michael in. Now, mind you, we have 2 beautiful children of his that are 14 and 16. But it's all about me. And he's got to go because, I need my sex and love addiction. So this guy must have been a love addict like me. He lived in Philly. I lived down here. He emails, texts, every 2 hours, text, songs, send each other YouTubes, songs, poems, letters. It was on until he relapsed. So he relapsed on heroin. Then it was the chase of me trying to get him help. Because I'm a drug and alcohol counselor. So I'm now trying to talk him into getting into detox and chasing him and crying and the pain and the butterflies and I'm sick because he's sick and I don't know it's withdrawal. And now I'm not getting, those love now because he went back to his original drug of choice. And I'm sick in my bed now. I'm in fetal position, sick right along with him. Now I finally get him on the detox and I have my phone on me waiting all day for him to call me, like all day, like addicted to this person, full on addiction, and the shame of his addiction and the shame of where it took him and me. And what am I doing? At that time, I'm 18 years clean, sober. I've been a drug and alcohol counselor for, I guess at that time, 7 or 8 years. And look what I'm doing. I'm chasing a heroin addict into detox and carrying and I ended a marriage with a stand-up guy for this whole thing. And these poor kids. Do you think I thought of these poor kids at all, that they lost their dad and their mom's nuts? No, it was all about me. Poor me. So what happens? he comes out of detox. I pick him up with Happy Valentine's cards and flowers. Yee, you completed detox. That wasn't going to work for the guy. It was like a month before he relapsed again. And then he spent months using it. I'm chasing, and this goes on. So I get him into treatment up in some Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is like 5 hours away. And he's there. Guess what I do? We write every day. I write him a letter every day, and he writes me a letter every day for 30 days that he's there. Okay. 30 days, every day I write him a letter. Such love addiction. The feeling, the spree of the romance now that he's in treatment. And then I started obsessing that he's cheating on me in treatment. He's obsessing. I'm so grateful to be speaking here today, where this takes you, the degradation. I'm assuming he's cheating on me in treatment now. That's like the thinking. And I pick him up from treatment, and it's like, I get him a job at a treatment facility here as a chef. And everything now that I look back is self-driven, selfish, and self-seeking. That's my motive, and that's causing my troubles, but I don't think so. And everything was self-driven, but I thought I was doing it for him because I wanted him near me. I want him down here. I don't want him in Philly. So I got a job here, and you walk around my house and all this stuff. And October 19th, 2018, he went to Philly to his uncle's, and he died of an overdose in his bed at his uncle's house, and he died. And I was in shock. I was in withdrawal. It was exactly 1 year we were together. I was in shock, withdrawal, grief, loss, and I wanted to die. And I walked around telling everybody I didn't care that I want to die. To my children, in front of my children, I want to die. And I'm chain smoking cigarettes. I look like a crazy person. I'm wearing his clothes full on, and his necklace and his clothes, and I'm chain smoking. And Michael's here, and I'm like talking to Michael, and I'm talking to birds, and that Michael sent the birds and all this, and I'm chain smoking. But they gave me time off of work, but then I have to go back to work, and I can be normal for 8 hours, and I can help other people and come home and be crazy in my bed wanting to die. My ex-husband came by, and he was supportive, and he said, listen, you got to snap the fuck out of this. All right. You got to snap out of this. You got a shrine going on. You're acting nutty. And, how dare he? How dare you? How dare you say that to me? But like my energy got real fucking low, and I knew I was attracting weird people. I cut everybody off from that other fellowship. And then I said that they didn't care about me, and they weren't there for me. And I keep praying to God to send somebody. God, you got to send somebody. God, I want to be close to you like I used to be, but I really think you should send somebody, God. So he does. I go to work in Atlantic City at the treatment center. He sends an old flame from damn high school down the alley. Oh my God, it's you. And we're like, the energy is pinging off each other. And we're like, oh my God, we start talking every day, all day, every day, all day, every day, all day, every day, all day. And we get addicted to each other. And then we start having the sex and the crazy sex. And it's the sex and the chemistry and the fighting starts and the toxicity starts and the jealousy starts. And here we are. 6 months in, he leaves. He says, you're nuts. You need help. And I'm like, you are just a player, and you're just playing and using me, and you're a jerk, and you're not there for me. And he said, go get help. And then he came and went. And that summer, I said to myself, I was at my computer in Atlantic City at work, and I had a treatment facility I worked in. I said to myself, I know there's something wrong now, because I have no self-esteem. Every time he ends it, I feel like I want to die and kill myself. Physically, I feel sick. I'm holding on, and I became submissive when I'm really a nutty. I'm not submissive. I'm not like that type of personality. And I let this man control me because he came and went so many times that now I'm just constantly afraid he's going to leave again. So I'm lost myself, completely lost me. There was no traits in me because I was so afraid to lose him that I was just not me anymore. And I knew it. I felt abused. I felt badgered, and I felt abused and badgered and old. And I was 50. And I started to look old and badgered, and I felt it. I was letting him badger and abuse. I was allowing this, but he didn't have no respect because all the abandonment issue was so intense that I really felt like I was going to die every time he left, and then he'd come back, and then he'd leave and come back. And every time he'd do it, I'd be like, no, 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 no. And he'd end it again. And I finally remembered Alanis Morissette. I said, damn it, I've been burying this. I was at work. It's probably God. I remember Alanis Morissette speaking on Oprah Winfrey about love addiction, and I just buried that thought, and I buried it. She was on Oprah Winfrey on the master class or something talking about love addiction, and I just remember it, and I feel so much shame. I don't want to bad talk him because then no one will like him, and I want him back. And I go and Google Alanis Morissette, and there it is. And it lets you know about SLA meetings now. So I'm like, oh shit. Cause like I told you in the beginning of this podcast, we don't have anything like that around here where I live, this South Jersey. We have no CODA. We have no SLA. We have no Al-Anon. We don't have anything, but we do have NA and AA, and that's just about it. And I get on the SLA meetings, and somehow I found Nikki and the Spiritual Gangsters. And I said, oh my God, these are my people. Like, I did not have to feel ashamed anymore. Like, all their stories are my stories. Are like the love addiction, the wanting to die, the withdrawal. I had a name for everything now. Like, I didn't know. I was so obsessed and so afraid in my past that I kept the secret of the shame. And I was so, that's my dog. I hope he's not interrupting us. Come here, pup. That I got to be with everyone, and all the people in the meetings were so lit up, and they introduced me to the Big Book, which I had never, ever been introduced to the Big Book and that other fellow. And I was like, holy shit, this shit is amazing. This Big Book is I was one of those people that made fun of the Big Book and AA people. I was one of, and here I am, like, I'm going to have a psychic change. I'm going to be reborn. I'm going to be rocketed to the fourth dimension. These promises, I'm going to be a total piece of knees alone. Me, I'm the most love addicted. With love addiction, you know, all you want is to be loved. That's all you want. So what do? You pick people that aren't even capable of loving you, and you chase them in a fantasy over and over. So when I found Nikki and Kimmy and the Spiritual Gangsters, and I saw, all these people just like me, and I got, Nikki to take me through the steps quickly. And we went through them, and it was like, holy God, this is amazing. This is a miracle. And very, like, getting through the steps, sponsoring, and understanding to trust God, clean house, and help others, understanding love and tolerance is our code, understanding like the sick man's prayer, understanding like wake up every morning happy and grateful to be alive, willing to serve, expecting nothing in return. Get the fuck out of yourself. Get the fuck out of yourself. Like, stop thinking. It's in your, stop thinking. And it was like, this is amazing. And so I changed my routine. I woke up and said 1 through 3. I took other people's experience that was our network. This was in COVID. This was in 2020. This was Zoom, Big Book, awake, alive. Like, it was like on fire. I was like 5-minute leads with 2-minute shares. This is amazing. Like, they would have people in these meetings around here speak for 25 minutes. And then the shares from the floor, thank you, I hear you. The shares from the floor would be like 25 minutes. There was never solution in the meetings around here. And I just loved it. And it was hard for me to get rid of that obsession. I'm not going to lie to you. That obsession lasted a long, long time, even though I came alive in the meetings and I could not be with anyone else. Like I was so tore up. Part of my love addiction was fantasy. So in my mind, I had told myself that he's my twin flame and that he's the runner and I'm the chaser. Like I was doing anything, I was doing the most to just justify this. Like I could not accept the idea that he was not supposed to be with me. And I think a lot of it was the fantasy of not being able to accept the reality of being rejected so harshly, and coldly to someone I had, dated in high school and knew as a local community. I just don't think I don't think physically, mentally, or spiritually I was able to grasp the rejection or accept it. Right? I wasn't able to get paid $417 and $420 about the rejection. But so I had this, he's my twin flame thing going on, but I was still working a program. And then they said, half measures avail us nothing, right? And I was like, so I think that I'm working this program so that I could get well, so that I could get them back. And our big book talks about the great obsession of every alcoholic, is that one day we can drink successfully, right? So one day I'm just going to be all cured and healed up, and he's going to come back and we're going to live happily ever after. And that's not the case. And that's not what happened. But I'll tell you something. Through this spiritual journey, being on this, sponsoring women, I printed out like this workbook, being taken through this workbook that was designed by Cameron, that he made it so simple for us to get through the log and loser list to where this disease took me, where it takes us, to have it mapped out for us in a step 4 column 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, to be told that I want to be in column 5. I want to be happy, joyous, and free. I want to live in the principles. And that the way that I can do that is to work these steps every day, to listen to our forefathers, predecessors talk about they didn't sponsor people and they wanted to commit suicide with 10 years clean and sober, meditating all day, still wanted to kill herself, and to have the perfect recipe designed for living. And so the spiritual journey, it took me to, I think our world should really move into all addictions and afflictions. And I feel grateful from this small town that I live in right now that offers nothing. I want to be a crusader and open some meetings around here. I'm not sure how to do that yet, but I could be on the Zoom anywhere in the world. So I got to experience when I finally got rid of the obsession, I put the sex and love addiction down. I started eating. I couldn't stop eating. I couldn't stop. I ballooned up to 161 pounds. And now I'm chain smoking. So I decided to visit other fellowships, man. I went into OA. That was fucking awesome. That was great. They're hardcore up in there. Yo, that hardcore big book OA, they do not mess around. Love that experience. Went into DA because I couldn't stop spending. Oh, when I went into OA, they told me I had to stop smoking. They said, the dopamine, you're either getting it from food or cigarettes. You need to quit them both. I was like, holy shit, I quit smoking. I quit miracles. And this is from God given miracles by reaching out and saying, I need help and getting rid of the shame. Got a nice meal plan, quit smoking, went into DA, dealt with all of that wreckage of my past and the loans and the school. They taught me how. And I'm just like, I am overwhelmed with gratitude that the God, that relationship with God, the relationship with my higher power, I've been single 3 years. I can be at total peace and ease being alone. That I'm able to be at peace and ease being alone. Me, this crazy ass love addict, codependent. My relationship with my children is beautiful today. It's beautiful. My 2 kids chooses to live with me. They're 22 and 20 now, and they like to stay here and on the same schedule with me. And we clean the house together, and they work, and they're productive, and they're kind. And I'm so proud. I'm so proud of my kids that turned out the way they did. And I can't tell you the amount, all the promises, address it. I can't even tell you the joy, um, the growth, the relationship with God, how everything lined up. And I got a raise at work, like a substantial amount of money for the credentials I have. So like it doesn't end here. It keeps going. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful that I got to do Rico. You know, I saw it. I've been in the gangsters since 2020 and I always saw it, but it just seems like this was the right time. So I hope something I said was helpful. Justin, I'm so grateful for you. And I love listening to Rico 12 and I love what you've done. And thank you guys for listening to me today. Hopefully I can share some hope. Some hope.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Richelle. We got several comments about the energy of your talk here. So much energy there. We're happy that you're here, that you're sharing your experience, strength, and hope with such enthusiasm. Amazing. We're going to get to some questions we have from the live audience. I've also written down some questions here. So a reminder to the live audience, if you have a question for Richelle, please type it in the Q&A link, which is at the bottom of your Zoom window, and we'll get to those as we come along. So the first question I want to get to that leads into a couple of questions that I have is from Tanya. Tanya asks, what are the signs of love addiction, Richelle? How does one qualify as a love addict? You're on mute.
Thanks. It's funny you would ask that because they do have characteristics, but I do big book. So if you went to a SLAM meeting, the Love Addiction meeting, they do have the characteristics in the preamble, but because I do big book, we don't discuss the characteristics. We just use that as all addictions and afflictions. For me, it was constant obsession and constant obsession with a person, Look, Nikki will always share the truth. And she had said, look at these crazy, this is serious, the obsession, because look at that guy, John Hinckley. Didn't he killed Reagan for Jodie Foster? Like, you got to look at, like, some of us go to suicide and homicide, the obsession, some people, it's a really serious obsession. For me, I just wanted to feel sorry for myself and die. But if you look out and there's stalkers, so I would say it's obsession. There's stalkers who do drive-bys and go to your work. And I mean, it can get bad, but I like the way Nikki shares it. It's funny because she's like, at the end, I'm going to kill you and me. I'm going to take you out. But it really can't, the obsession with a person, it's constant obsession. And I'm grateful to be relieved of that obsession. With my longest obsession with a person was 5 years. And this last one was about 3 years. And it's horrible. And I would say stay single. That's what I had to do. Do not jump into another relationship. I stayed single, worked on my relationship with God and my fellows, got through the steps and sponsored, and like just kept doing spiritual things. Because it is very destructive and scary to be obsessed with somebody.
Yeah. Thank you for, go ahead.
Humiliating as well.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that, Richelle. How does one define abstinence or sobriety in love addiction? It's kind of hard sometimes in some of those process addictions to do that. How do you know, hey, I'm abstinent, I'm sober, I'm walking this path of recovery?
I agree 100%. It's too hard to measure that. I agree. Because when I doing OA, I enjoy, and you're abstinent if you eat your meal plan and you don't use that. And then AA and CA, if you don't use that drug, you're abstinent. So it's too difficult. This is just my opinion, because I don't do traditional SLA. I do big book. So, I don't know those preambles and those, like, what they consider emotional sobriety. Because I just got familiar with, Bill W's emotional sobriety. I just read that for the very first time. I'm new to the big book. I'm 3 3 years in the big book. And I just read Bill W.'s Emotional Sobriety. I just read that. I would like to read it again, as a matter of fact, and recommend anybody read that, Bill W.'s. So it's really difficult. Abstinence for me would be not texting this guy that I was obsessed with for 3 years, not texting him, not calling him, not emailing him. The emails were long. They made no sense. And I'll tell you something. The emails that I would email this guy that I couldn't stop, if I didn't get we resorted to emailing because we blocked each other. So then we would email each other. And then how sick is that? And then if I didn't get the response I wanted, I'd be angry. So I'd be nice. And then I'd go evil and nice and evil and nice and you look crazy. I want to curse like that. You look crazy, bitch. You're saying I love you, and because you didn't say I love you back, you're saying you're a fucking scumbag dirtball. And then you're being nice. It's crazy. It's crazy. Took unmanageable insanity with emails, text. That would, for me, that would be abstinent in love addiction, is not being acting out with texts and emails and phone calls and drive-bys. If I had some obsession pop up with someone at work, I could share about it with a friend or someone in recovery. But thank God that obsession has been lifted for me. I have a better relationship with myself now and my children.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Richelle. All right, this next question is from Sarah. Richelle, I love how you share about your transformation. Please tell us more about the difference between being selfish as a love addict and serving selflessly as a recovered addict. Share some examples of those miracles.
Like, it makes me teared up, cry, because the selfishness that you don't see, that we read earlier in this session. Selfishness and self-seeking is the root of our troubles. We must be rid of it or it kills us. We must, or it kills us. And I had tunnel vision, and I could only see how you were talking to me, and how. That's why the love addicted people told me to go over to Coda. They go, honey, you need to go over to Coda, because I took everything personal. That's the main core of this self-centeredness. I took everything personal. It was all about me. You ignored me. You didn't say hi to me. You're talking to me wrong. You treat me bad. It's all me, 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 me. So why I get teared up to come out of that and to have empathy. Because of course I had empathy for somebody who had cancer. And of course I had empathy for a lost puppy dog and a hurting kitten and my children when they're sick. But like, just walking in your life to have empathy for the world, for the person that's so grouchy, for the front desk girl that's so mean to me every day, and to the client and say, I didn't walk a day in her shoes. I didn't walk a day in hers. I don't know what she's been through. I don't even know what she might have been through this morning, right? What if her husband left her this morning? What if her child does that? I don't know. But like, perhaps she's sick. How can I be helpful? God saved me from anger and reacting. The old me is so selfish that I would react to every single person who I thought didn't act the way I wanted them to act towards me. So staying in 417 to 420, page 417 and 4 to 420, and to guess who the people in Spiritual Gangsters modeled to me. They modeled how to be unselfish, helpful. I learned from Spiritual Gangsters how to be in service, expecting nothing in return, how to be kind to someone that's mean, or that's rude to you, how to not take your children personal. They're acting age appropriate. They're supposed to hate you 14 to 18. Don't make them feel so bad all the time. They're supposed to have tantrums when they're 2 to 6. Let them. Like they're so I guess it's like getting out of myself and out of that tunnel vision to know that other people actually have their own issues that they're dealing with, right? And it's not about you at all. And actually, the whole world does love you, dummy. The whole world loves you, silly. You're the one thinking they don't. Like, help somebody. Get out of yourself. Go help somebody. And I hope that was a decent answer.
Yeah,
I
thank you
love
for
these questions.
yeah, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Uh a link to characteristics of a sex love addict was posted in the Q&A. I put it in the chat for everybody to see in case somebody out there wants to know that. I'll also put that link in the show notes of the podcast if anybody's listening and would like to go see what Sloss states are the characteristics of a sex love addict. So, all right, thank you for sharing that in the chat. And now we've got a couple more questions from the live audience. This comes from Janet. Janet says, what would you say to the person with whom you were obsessed? Do you think that your actions created havoc and hurt in their lives in mind? In other words, and I'll add to this, how does that amends process look like in a situation like this?
Oh, that's funny because let me tell you something. It is definitely an individual because you will cause harm like I did. And I'll tell you how I did. I was so obsessed with this person. There's two people that I had horrible obsessions with. And this last one that brought me to my knees, this obsession. Um, so my motives were to get them back. So I didn't know it. So we think because we're still in disease that we're having this awakening. And really, a lot of times you're just experiencing another high, another dopamine shot. I learned that later. So I was getting dopamine from the food, the cigarettes, and anything that had to do with him. And I learned this later. I didn't know it at the time. So what I did, oh God, I go because I want to make an amends. I barely run it by my sponsor briefly. I come to realize I was showing up in column 4. She makes, which is all the defects. She makes jokes with me that I love. Yeah, if you were my boyfriend or girlfriend, you're showing up in column 4, I'd cheat on you too. So I start realizing I'm so crazy. He said I was crazy and that I'm crazy. And now I want to make an amends. But you guys, let's be real. I wanted him back. I told you that. I really wanted him back. This was 2021. I wanted him back. So I go to make this amends thinking I have this spiritual awakening. I kind of run it by the sponsor. And I'm thinking, because he has recovery, he has his own recovery. So I go pay for his membership at the gym because he paid for his niece and nephew's membership and his. So I think that's a nice amends. And I know what he liked to eat, so I made that. So I get the thing he likes to eat, and I go to the gym and pay his membership, which was only $30 as a gift because he paid for his. So the guy at the gym never even gave him the food, and then I'm sitting there with expectations in a meeting. It was nuts. Like I wanted him back. I thought I was doing something nice, but it was really just getting a dopamine hit off, getting the stuff. If this makes sense to any love addicts or out there, I was getting dopamine from buying the food, from paying the membership. So it was still about me. Mind you, in the back of my mind, it wasn't pure. It didn't pass the self-will test because I still wanted him back. So I think that leaving them alone was what my sponsor told me later. Because I'm mad the guy at Jim never gave him the meal and I'm in expectation. So I recommend listening to whatever your sponsor tells you because I badgered that man with those emails. And I started calling him evil and all these things. And because I couldn't accept reality. And I did cause harm. You're right. And my amends was still about me. So in the end, my sponsor told me the best amends I could make was leave him the fuck alone. Leave him alone would be the best amends I could make to that man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's pretty intense. I appreciate that. So next question comes from Sal from our live audience. Sal says, "Hi, thanks for your lead. At the core of my addictions, I feel the need to be as close to the edge as possible. Dangerous place to be. I added that in there. Did your recovery improve or get worse depending on people, places, or things that are edgy or intense that are close to that edge?" What are your thoughts on that, Richelle?
Yeah. Just take this last cigarette. I'm 55 years old. I'm chain smoking cigarettes. It not only does it cost money, it's a health hazard. Secondhand smoke to my children and anyone who lives near me, who comes near me. I'm risking lung cancer. I'm 55 years old. I've been chain smoking since I'm 12. Like, listen to my voice and like, and everyone's telling me to quit for the past 2 years. And I'm fuck you. Don't fucking tell me to quit. And this addiction got me through death of Michael, withdrawal, abandonment, a divorce, death, loss. I never picked up drugs or alcohol. I'm taking the cigarettes all the way, man. I'm going to be 86 smoking in my, and like, I start getting scared. I start getting real scared. My father-in-law got lung cancer. My mother-in-law, my uncle, two of my other uncles on both sides. And I start getting scared. I'm like, you're really taking this cigarette thing. You're really, and it's and any addiction. I mean, it's degrading. Sex addiction, love addiction, food addiction is all degrading. In the end, I was eating McDonald's and Burger King in my car alone. I didn't want to share it with my kids, and I couldn't wait to get home. And I love anyone who I've heard share this too. Like they got done the sex and love addiction was shameful, so then they start the food addiction or the cigarette addiction or the coffee addiction, and it just like revolves all around, and it's all hazardous. It's all life threatening and edgy. And I hope that was helpful. Justin, yeah. What was the bottom line to that question?
So did your recovery improve or get worse if you got close to the edge, getting close to the edge on some of these things?
Improved. At the end of my road, my recovery improved because I'm not sure I'm understanding fully the question.
Yeah, so I'm gonna share a little bit from my perspective on this, if you don't mind, Richelle. So for me, in my own addictive behaviors and in my own addictions, anytime I go to the edge, to look over the edge, I'm going to the edge with the hopes that, hey, maybe somebody will push me over. Maybe I'll slip and fall and go right back into that addiction. I personally set my boundaries like feet away from the edge. It's like a protective wall or at the edge of the Grand Canyon that's back a few feet from the edge to keep me from getting there, because I'm going to want to jump if I get to the edge, because it's just so close and so enticing to get back into those easy, quick dopamine hits that can come so quick and so easy. So I need to get my dopamine hits through doing service to others by sharing the message rather than by playing with the edge of my addiction. So that's my thought on that. Do you have any comments on that, Richelle?
No, I don't. I hear you. It's just like, I'm so grateful that I didn't have legal trouble, and I think it's by the grace of God, because what you think to do and what you don't end up doing, thank God. Like when Nikki shares, because she was just the person who I emulated when I got here. When she shared that she thought about renting a car, running him over, and then killing herself. And it's like the thoughts that I had about killing somebody, running somebody over, shooting them for hurting me, the amount of pain that you're in, or just showing up at their job. That's what I think of as the edge, like taking pills to kill you. That's how I think of it. And I'm just grateful that I didn't go over the edge and that I felt certifiable. But thank God I didn't go over the edge, and thank God that I didn't get myself in any legal trouble.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Richelle. All right, I've got another question here, and if anybody else has a last-minute question they'd like to put in the chat or in the Q&A link, go ahead and do so now. We'll start wrapping up here in the next few minutes. But you mentioned, Richelle, that it took you a while to get to the surrender part. You mentioned the word surrender. I want to ask you, what does surrender look like to you today? What does that process or concept look like to you?
Pretty simple. I love how one of our fellows defined it. I can't let go. I need to be let go of. And that's about it for me. I cannot let go. I need to be let go of, period. And that's in those relationships. And that's whereas I got this hardcore sponsor who was rough and tough in the OA who told me it's not going to work unless you quit cigarettes. And I wanted the food program, and if I'm willing to go to any lengths and I'm willing to do whatever she says, I'm willing to get rid of the cigarettes. Because she told me, you're not considered abstinent smoking all them cigarettes and chewing all that gum. You're just not in OA. And that could be individualized for each person with their sponsor. But I have to be told, period. It's terrible because I really need consequences to be yelled at. I needed Nikki M in my life. I need her to say, shut the fuck up, put your big girl panties on, stop bitching about mommy and daddy. You're 52 years old. I needed that. And I needed this OA sponsor to tell me you cannot smoke all them cigarettes and be considered abstinent in a food program. I'm sorry. And I was like, holy shit. I need that. I need the hardcore, because I'll justify and rationalize the middle of the road and half measures, and I'll justify all that in my mind,
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I appreciate that a lot, Richelle. So next question, I'm going to take two questions or three questions, merge them into one kind of. These are from Sarah O. Do you sponsor today? And if so, how does sponsoring others help you stay sober in your love addiction? And how many people do you sponsor?
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Right now I sponsor 2 girls in SLA. And I do the same thing. I send them over to Love Addiction. Some people that we sponsor in SLA, if you're sponsoring in SLA, since today's topic is love addiction, but I believe, all addictions and afflictions, but if you're sponsoring in SLA, you're going to sponsor some people that are married that actually act out in their marriage. And they have the gift of desperation, as we all did, that ask for help because they don't want to live with that anymore. The guilt and the shame. And, so what I find beautiful and helpful, I stick to this. I stick to this Cameron's workbook. I stick to that. That's how I sponsor people. I have it in a binder. I'm so grateful. I finally put it in a binder. It's all mocked up. And it's a beautiful process. Cameron made this simple for us to go through this workbook with our clients. This column 4 is circle that says that's how you were showing up to life. Would you cheat on you? Would you want you as a business partner? Would you want you as a friend showing up in column 4 with all the jealousy, false pride, insecurity, fear, jealousy, greedy, all that? And it's I love waking people up through this process the way I was woken up. I love that I can talk to women who are acting out in SLA addiction and are married and get to save their marriage, and they can slide over to our coda, right? And learn to let people be who they are, let people love how they love, let people answer how they want, have the feelings they want, go to the places they want, we took hostages. If you're a love addict or you're coda, whatever, you took hostages. And the gift of sponsoring, which I have 2 right now in SLA, and the gift is watching them improve their relationships and their relationship with God, of course. But watching them live improve their relationships with their kids and their spouses and their parents, that's beautiful. That's beautiful to watch. That's the gift.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I love watching the changes happen in people that I work with too. Thank you for sharing that, Richelle. Before we start closing up, do you have any final words of wisdom to share with us?
Trust God, clean house, help others.
Love it. Perfect words of wisdom. All right. We're going to jump into the closing here, and then we'll go and have you do the step 7 prayer at the end here in just a minute. Thanks, Richelle. Mm-hmm. That was a great RICO 12 weekly speaker meeting. If any of you out there in the listening audience, whether live or on the podcast, have questions, please consider joining our WhatsApp community by sending an email to rico12pod@gmail.com. and join in that community to ask questions that may come up, answer other questions that may come up. If you're inspired and want to share something of your insights in a 12-step type share, please consider going to Rico 12 Shares SpeakPipe link. I'll put that in the show notes and in the chat here in just a minute, and record a 3 to 4 minute share there. If you've not yet rated and reviewed this podcast or any of the other Rico 12 podcasts in Apple Podcasts, please consider going to do so now. It's a great way to work step 12 and sharing this message with more people out there who are dying and need the solution. Next week, we have Terry S. coming back, who spoke to it with us a couple of years ago. His topic this time around will be bought out and spent, recovery from compulsive shopping and spending. And I'm excited to hear from him on this. I look forward to it. Don't miss any of the other Rico 12 resources that'll be released over the next week. And now let's launch off into the rest of our day with the 7th step prayer that Richelle is going to say for us.
My Creator, I am now my Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I got from here to do your bidding. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Richelle. Remember, guys, keep coming back. Let's trudge this happy road of destiny together. Work it. You are worth it.
I've seen stars fall from above. I've fallen in and out of love. I've been high and I've been low. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. I've seen a boy become a man. He got lost without a plan. He's so far away from home. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. I'm looking for the words to say. You make the world a better place, and I can call that place my home. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. So let me see just what you need to set you free, so we can be. I saw stars fall from above. I fell in and out of love. I got high and I fell low. But now I know that I just can't do this on my own. No, I just can't do this on my own. I just can't do this on my own.